Is Tuesday, um, February 23rd, 2021, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing well today. Just got finished teaching a fantastic class dealing with ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Our guest speaker tonight was Dr. David M. Hotep, author of the book, The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence. The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence Revisited, his new book that'll be out by the end of March 2021. And he also has another book coming out in a couple of weeks, Ali and Me, about his time working with Muhammad Ali as Muhammad Ali's nutritionist for Ali's last 6 fights. So, he was my guest on the show, on my show here Sunday night, and he was our guest speaker in class tonight. So you can, if you missed the class, you can still go back and watch. You can still register for the online course. It's an 8-week, 16-hour online course that I teach ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. We deal with thousands of years of history. We deal with ancient Egypt, ancient Kemet. We deal with the ancient Africa. We deal with the Africans known as the Moors, who go into Europe and take the teachings from ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt into Europe, and this brings Europe out of the Dark Ages. And we deal with what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. Okay, so you can still register for the online course. As soon as you register, you'll be able to watch the class from tonight and also last week's class. Our guest last week was cultural anthropologist Sister Nubia Wartford. And we dealt with the origins of ancient Kush, and we dealt with the African queens of antiquity. Okay, so it's on sale $80, regularly $130. Regularly $130, on sale $80. You can watch from around the world. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Okay, so we have a lot to talk about. Tiger Woods was in a very bad crash today, and we know he's out of surgery now. The latest reports, he's out of surgery now. He suffered multiple injuries to his legs that required surgery. He was conscious and lucid when he was found by first responders. He's out of surgery now. So earlier, they were wondering if he would walk again, but now it appears most likely he will. So they're asking if he'll be able to play golf again or when he will be able to play golf again. So we'll talk some about Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods seriously injured in rollover crash, but we know he's out of surgery now. And also, today is the anniversary of the tragic killing of Ahmaud Arbery. Okay, Ahmaud Arbery down in Georgia. And his family, his mother has filed a civil lawsuit, okay, in regards to his killing. So we'll talk some about that also. And there are memorials to Ahmaud Arbery on the anniversary of his killing as well. Okay, so we'll discuss that. Memorials lawsuit marked death anniversary of Ahmaud Arbery. Associated Press has a good article dealing with this as well. News1.com has an article also. Ahmaud Arbery's mother files civil rights lawsuit, accuses suspected killers, law enforcement of cover-up, accuses suspected killers, and law enforcement of cover-up. So we'll discuss that. Then we saw that the Capitol, there was the hearings today for the Capitol Hill insurrection that took place on January 6th. And one of the interesting things in the hearings today is some of the people who incited the insurrection were senators who were able to ask questions. Like Senator Ron Johnson, Wisconsin, and Senator Josh Hawley, they helped incite the insurrection. They were propagating the lie of the stolen election and all this nonsense. Okay, and they were in Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, the same senator who blocked the Juneteenth bill to make Juneteenth a federal holiday in the Senate. He blocked that bill. Ron Johnson was pushing more nonsensical conspiracy theories right there in the Senate hearing. This is an example of why people like this have to be voted out of office. So we'll talk about that as well. The U.S. Capitol, the Capitol insurrection hearing that took place. And Capitol Police leaders say they did not see critical warning before Capitol attack. Capitol Police leaders say they did not see critical warning before Capitol attack. Now, there's an article from NBC.com because they're saying the information that was coming from the FBI, the Capitol Police are saying they did not see that. And FBI accused of intel failure before Capitol riot. Okay, so we'll discuss all of that. Now, we know February 21st was the anniversary of the assassination of Malcolm X. We talked about the new evidence, the deathbed confession of former New York Police Department Detective Ray Wood, who infiltrated Malcolm's organization. And there was an excerpt of the ballot or the bullet that I was going to talk about, but did not get a chance to talk about. So we'll discuss that today. And it ties into Malcolm. You know, he was talking about wearing a turban. And he said, he said you could wear a turban, change your name to an African name, adopt a African dialect, and he said you'll be able to go anywhere you want to in the country. And he said Africans don't need a civil rights bill. He said you're the only one who needs a civil rights bill. We'll discuss that some, because did you know there was a time in this country when some African Americans wore turbans and adopted a foreign dialect to circumvent the Jim Crow laws of this country? All right, now on the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man's thoughts or a woman's thoughts, you can control the circumference of his or her actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We deal with current events and history and politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828 to sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828 to sign up for our email newsletter. Also, visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. If you'd like to stop for information, you can support the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, then also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. We're going to post the links here. If you do it through Cash App, make sure you punch in $ the AHN Show, SHOW, through Cash App. And this helps us to keep broadcasting 6 nights a week and keep doing the research. All right. Let's before we go to break quickly here, let's look at this story dealing with Tiger Woods. Okay. So golf legend Tiger Woods was seriously injured Tuesday in a one-car accident in Southern California, authorities said. Tiger Woods' Genesis GV80 crashed and sustained major damage at 7:12 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on the border of Rolling Hills Estates and Rancho Palos Verdes, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department said in a statement. Now, Tiger Woods was conscious and in stable condition when he was removed from the car. Los Angeles County Fire Chief Daryl Osby said Tuesday at a news conference. Deputies did not see any signs of impairment when they arrived at the scene. Los Angeles County Sheriff Alex Villanueva said at the same news conference. We'll continue this on the other side of the break. Listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation of Future Radio. I'm Michael M. Hotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right, stand by, everybody. Stand by. We'll be back in just a minute. Stand by. How's everybody doing? Okay, everybody, share this broadcast on your social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in. Okay, who we have here? Shirley, Nicole, all right, how's everybody doing today? Okay, we'll be back from break in like 2 or 3 minutes. All right, how's everybody doing? Okay, we got Sonia, DJ Burnett, Ruby, Kay. A watch party for what? Kay said, why can't I do a watch party? A watch party for what? We're broadcasting here on Facebook right now, the African History Network on Facebook. Why can't I do a watch party for what? Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation of Future Radio. Yeah, I'm your host, Brother Michael M. Hotep. It is Tuesday, February 23rd, 2021, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing well today. Calling numbers 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. I want to remind you, I am on the panel for the Black History Month celebration for Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. It's taking place Wednesday, February 24th, 2021. 2021, Wednesday, February 24th, 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. It's free. You just have to register for it. It's going to be on Zoom, and it's a virtual Black History Month celebration. Okay. So if you go to our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, we have it there, and you scroll down the page, you will see the information for the radio show, information for my online course, and then below that has the flyer for the virtual Let's Celebrate Black History, the virtual Black History Month celebration. This is organized by the Lambda Rho Zeta chapter of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, the Pontiac chapter. Wednesday, February 24th, 2021, 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it's going to be on Zoom. It's free. When you go to my website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, you see the information. Click right here for register here. And it takes you to the next page. You just register first, last name, and email address. And then that's it. Okay. So we'll they have performances. They have a really good program. I was invited to be on the panel by Sister Marnice Chris Jackson of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, my favorite Zeta in the whole wide world, Sister Marnice. So tune in on Wednesday, and we may talk about it on Wednesday's show. But I'm on the panel. You see me on the flyer. You see me with a suit on. So check that out also. All right. Okay, let's go back to the story about Tiger Woods. All right. And, I think we're all happy that, we're all happy that Tiger's going to pull through on this. Hopefully he makes a full recovery, definitely. Hopefully he makes a full recovery. We know he's had a number of different operations. He's had problems with his back. He just recently had a back operation, and he has a battered body from golf. Operations on his knees, all different types of things like that. But if we look at this article, and we're going to go to the clip from MSNBC also, Shakita, here in just a minute here. We'll go to the clip from MSNBC. So if we look at this article, Tiger Woods seriously injured in rollover car crash near Los Angeles. So deputies did not see any signs of impairment when they arrived at the scene. Los Angeles County Sheriff Alex Villanueva said at the same news conference. The cause of the crash is under investigation, but Villanueva said that accidents were not uncommon in the area because of the downhill slopes and curves on the road. Tiger Woods crashed while heading north on Hawthorne Boulevard at Black Horse Road. Thankfully, the interior was more or less intact, which gave him the cushion to survive, Villanueva said. Otherwise, it would have been a fatal crash. Thankfully, the interior was more or less intact, which gave him the cushion to survive. Now, Tiger Woods was the driver and only occupant of the vehicle. The sheriff said and was rushed to a hospital. Authorities initially said that the athlete had to be extracted from the car with the jaws of life, but Osby clarified Tuesday that different tools were used to help remove him from the wreckage. Tiger Woods had serious injuries to both legs when he was taken to Harbor UCLA Medical Center. His agent, Mark Steinberg, told NBC News on Tuesday afternoon that Tiger Woods required surgery for multiple leg injuries. Deputy Carlos Gonzalez, one of the first responders to the scene, told reporters that Tiger Woods could not stand on his own, but was lucid and able to hold a conversation. The deputy added that Tiger Woods was wearing his seatbelt. He was wearing his seatbelt, which is good. Probably saved his life. Quote, I will say that it's very fortunate that Mr. Woods was able to come out of this alive because this is an accident-prone stretch of road, Gonzalez said. We've seen a number of accidents on this stretch of roadway, Images of the crash scene show the sports utility vehicle on its side with the front end almost totally smashed apart. Now, Tiger Woods also crashed his car just a few days after Thanksgiving in 2009 in Florida. The accident inadvertently revealed a bitter marital dispute with his then wife, etc. Tiger Woods has not played in a tournament this year and is recovering from back surgery from 2020, December 2020, his fifth such operation, his fifth back surgery. The 45-year-old, who is based in Jupiter, Florida, was in Southern California this weekend for the Genesis Invitational, which benefits his foundation. An HBO documentary last month chronicled Tiger Woods' meteoric rise and public shame in 2009 and 2010. Okay, so check out the rest of this article from NBCnews.com. Tiger Woods seriously injured in rollover car near Los Angeles. So we know he underwent surgery. He's doing better now. There's also a good article from CNN.com as well. Tiger Woods has serious leg injuries after a high-speed crash. And let me see here. Okay. I want to go to this clip here from MSNBC just to give some background information on what happened, and it was some early reporting here. So let's go to this. Let's go to this clip here. I think this is clip one. Tiger Woods seriously injured in. Let me see. Hold on. Which clip is that? Just a second. Yeah. Okay. So let's go to the clip dealing with Tiger Woods, Shakita.
Good day, everyone. We're coming on the air with breaking news. It has to do with golf superstar Tiger Woods, who has been injured in a serious car accident in Palos Verdes, California, just outside Los Angeles. Woods has been hospitalized, reportedly with multiple leg injuries, and is undergoing surgery. It's not yet clear how seriously he's been injured, but we do know the SUV he was driving, he was the sole occupant, went off the road and rolled over shortly after 7 this morning, California time, leaving it seriously damaged and forcing first responders to use the Jaws of Life power tool to extricate him from the wreck. Gotti Schwartz is in Los Angeles and has more reporting on this. Gotti, what do we know?
Hey, good evening, Lester. Yeah, looking at that video from the helicopters above, you get a sense of just how violent this crash was. We know that Tiger Woods was the only person inside this SUV, and the Jaws of Life were used. And when you look at that crash, you can see why. It appears as though the entire engine of the front of that SUV has been almost sheared off. Now, we're getting a little bit of a sense as to what might have happened from some of the debris that's nearby. It appears as though this happened on Hawthorne Boulevard in Palos Verdes. We're getting a little bit of a better picture from some of that debris field. It appears as though he was traveling northbound, crossed southbound, crashed into some sign that was sitting in the median and ended up quite a ways away, facing the opposite direction up on that embankment, with all of the airbags appear to have been deployed. And again, the entire engine from that car or from that SUV is missing. Now, we know he was here in California for a 2-day television shoot after hosting the PGA Tour Genesis Invitational over the weekend. Part of that included giving some well-known celebrities like Dwayne Wade and David Spade golf lessons yesterday. All of that was happening at the Rolling Hills golf course. Again, this crash happened at about 7 o'clock in the morning. It's unclear if he was headed to the Rolling Hills golf course or possibly headed away from the Rolling Hills golf course. But at this point, we know that he's got extensive injuries to both his legs, according to his agent, and is undergoing emergency surgery at Harborview Hospital. So that's the latest we have on his condition. But just taking a look at the damage on that vehicle, again, you can imagine what kind of injuries he must have had with his legs near that cavity where the engine was. and all those airbags deployed, the jaws of life being used to pull him out of the vehicle once emergency responders first got there.
Yeah, remarkable. The front end of that vehicle just obliterated. All right, Gotti Schwartz, thank you. Also standing by for us is Mike Tirico of NBC Sports. Mike, there's no bigger name in golf than Tiger Woods. You may or may not know the game, but you certainly know who he is.
We all do, Lester, without question. Tiger's been a part of the sports conversation really for 3 decades. He came out way back as a youth on the old Mike Douglas TV show. His dad always wanted him to be a golfer, and he was out there with Bob Hope hitting golf balls at a very young age. And Tiger's been on the stage. He's been in the headlines for his play. He's been in the headlines for things that have gone wrong off the golf course. He has been involved in multiple surgeries. He had just a couple of months ago had his 5th procedure on his back. His back and neck and knee injuries have really shorted what was on the pace to be the greatest career in the sport. Some may say it still is. He's won 82 times, as much as anyone, tied with Sam Snead for the all-time record. 15 major championships. Jack Nicklaus has won 18. But Lester, it's the crossover. It's the fact that no matter golf fan or not, you know who Tiger Woods is. You recognize him, not just here in the States and around the world. It has everybody buzzing here today.
A towering figure in sports indeed. All right, Mike Tirico, thanks again. 45-year-old Tiger Woods, one of the greatest golfers and certainly one of the best-known sports figures of all time, in surgery right now at this hour with multiple leg injuries following a serious solo car accident this morning in California. We'll have full details coming up on NBC Nightly News. For now, I'm Lester Holt, NBC News, New York. Good day, everyone.
Okay, so that was from NBC News. Now, we know that the initial report regarding the jaws of life was amended, as was corrected, as we stated in later reporting from NBC News. The jaws of life were not used. They actually used, let's see, we'll look at what was actually used. Authorities initially said that the Tiger Woods had to be extracted from the car with the jaws of life, but it was clarified later Tuesday at the press conference that different tools were used to help remove him from the wreckage. Okay, so we hope he makes a full recovery. Check out the reporting from NBCnews.com. Tiger Woods seriously injured in rollover car crash near Los Angeles. Okay, let's go to this next story here. Ahmaud Arbery. So today's the anniversary of the killing of Ahmaud Arbery. And we know that on social media, you saw a lot of things honoring Ahmaud, a lot of posts honoring him as well. And we know that there was also a lawsuit filed on behalf of Ahmaud Arbery by his mother. So News1.com has an article dealing with this. Ahmaud Arbery's mother files civil rights lawsuit, accuses suspected killers, law enforcement of cover-up. Accuses suspected killers, law enforcement of cover-up. So if we're going to put this on the screen share. One, I want you to see it too. I just paid this damn bill, so I want you to see it too, because I just paid this bill. This it feels like paying a car note, paying a restream. I'm just telling you. But Ahmaud Arbery's mother filed civil rights lawsuit, accuses suspected killers, law enforcement of cover-up. The suit, filed on the 1-year anniversary of Arbery's death, asked for more than $1 million in damages. Okay, now this is by Sharice Frazier for News1.com. Now, 1 year after his tragic death, Ahmaud Arbery's mother, Wanda Cooper Jones, filed a federal lawsuit alleging that her son's civil rights were violated. The suit also claims that law enforcement officials worked to protect those who stole her son's life. The lawsuit also claims that law enforcement officials worked to protect those that stole her son's life. Now, Cooper Jones, through her attorney Esley Merritt, filed the lawsuit on Tuesday in the Southern District of Georgia and seeks more than $1 million in damages, according to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. The suit names the three men suspected of murdering Ahmaud Arbery, Gregory McMichael, Travis McMichael, and William Bryan, and also names more than a dozen law enforcement officers, former Glenn County District Attorney Jackie Johnson, and Ware County District Attorney George Barnhill. Quote, they unfairly and prejudicially targeted the black man who was seen entering a property that many people were entering. They imputed criminality on Arbery, and they had the opportunity to avoid this from happening to tell citizens that it is not appropriate to engage in vigilantism, attorney Esley Merritt told First Coast News. Now, there was the homeowner who was apparently having the house built, and there was video surveillance footage of other people wandering onto the property, looking around, things like this. People were white. None of them were chased down by these three alleged murderers. None of them were chased down. They didn't chase them with guns, anything like that. Ahmaud was the only one who was chased down. Now, quote, we wanted to let the family know that the community, their attorneys, the legal system is still going to be held accountable, and that we're still fighting for them a year later. Okay, so they have the lawsuit here. You can read that. There's a tweet about the lawsuit. Now, Cooper Jones also accuses the McMichaels of using a racial slur against her son in his last moments of life, and as well as the use of excessive force, conspiracy to obstruct justice, and a failure to properly train officers. Now, we know that, and we talked about this here on this show, there was a couple of months ago, there was body cam footage that came out that was released that showed that William Roddy Bryant had more involvement in chasing Ahmaud Arbery than he was saying later on. What he told the officers was that on the scene was that he tried to box Ahmaud in. He was chasing him and tried to box him in. But that's not what he told when later, when the whole story blew up and he was sitting on the couch next to his wife and there was a press conference and he's saying he had nothing to do with it. He was just a bystander. That's not what he said then at the press conference. Okay. So more and more information is coming out and is showing more culpability. More and more information is coming out and is showing more culpability. There was a story from CBS this morning. I'm going to send you this clip here. Shakita. Cue this up. We're going to go to this right here. It's amazing what people say. Well, it's amazing how people forget the body cam is running, or maybe he didn't know it was being recorded. But thank God for body cam footage. Okay, thank God for body cam footage. So I'm going to send you this clip. We're going to go to this. This is from CBS this morning. Body cam footage shows William Roddy Bryant telling police, quote, I made a few moves, end quote, at Ahmaud Arbery. I made a few moves, end quote, at Ahmaud Arbery. Okay. Newly obtained body. Now this came out in December 2020, about December 15th, 2020. All right. Newly obtained footage appears to contradict the account presented by one of the men charged in Ahmaud Arbery's killing, William Roddy Bryan. William Roddy Bryan filmed Ahmaud Arbery. He filmed Gregory and Travis McMichael chasing down and shooting Ahmaud Arbery in February. Bryan's attorney has insisted his client was never more than a witness to Arbery's death. Okay, but that's not exactly what he told. That ain't what he told the officer there on the scene. Let's go to this clip, Shakita.
Footage seems to contradict the account from one of the men charged in Ahmaud Arbery's killing. William Bryan, goes by Rhodey, recorded Gregory and Travis McMichael chasing Arbery back in February. Now, Bryan's lawyer says his client was, quote, never more than a witness to Arbery's death. But Omar Villafranca has the video that suggests he was more involved.
Was you a passerby coming through? Not necessarily.
This body camera footage obtained by our Jacksonville station, WJAX, shows Roddy Bryan talking to police moments after Ahmaud Arbery's death. Bryan recorded that video of the February 23rd shooting. It was posted online months later, bringing national attention to the case and leading police to arrest him, as well as Gregory and Travis McMichael. Now, Bryan and the McMichaels face several charges in the killing, including felony murder. They have all pleaded not guilty and have been denied bail by a judge.
I truthfully need to be cleared of this because I had nothing to do with it.
Before his arrest, Bryan said his reputation was being smeared. But in the body cam footage, he told police this.
I pulled out of my driveway, was going to try to block him. But he was going all around it, and I made a few moves at him, and he didn't stop.
We think he's an active participant.
I spoke to Cobb County Prosecutor Jesse Evans for 48 hours. He said there's evidence to suggest that Bryan hit Arbery with his truck while trying to box him in. This is how Bryan's attorney, Kevin Goff, responded.
He's never been more than a witness to this shooting.
There's dents on the truck.
There is no evidence that Mr. Bryan did anything improper with his vehicle.
In a statement responding to the new video, Arbery's mother, Wanda Cooper Jones, said in part, "This man stood feet away from where my son lay shot to death and seems to brag about his part. He and all involved must be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law." For CBS This Morning, I'm Omar Villafranca.
Now, we reached out to Bryan's lawyer for a response to that body cam video. He's the lawyer who said there had been no evidence of Bryan's involvement. He did not respond at this time. We also contacted the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, which is handling the Arbery case. A spokesperson there did not deny the authenticity of the footage, but told us that the GBI is not sure how WJX got it. And the spokesperson also stressed that the agency did not release the video itself because the case, as you know, is currently being litigated.
Well, still, it's another example of how important it is to have video.
Yep.
Video proof in these particular cases.
Because it's telling a different story than what he told.
Very different story. And, the Ahmaud Arbery's attorneys said from the very beginning that William Roddy was more involved than he was leading everybody to believe.
Yeah.
That tape certainly raises a lot of questions.
I would call it evidence. Makes me wonder if the lawyer for Bryan knew that tape was out there. He may not have.
Yeah, it's his own testimony that he was, in essence, an active participant.
Yeah.
So now we covered that story when that story broke and the body cam footage was released. We talked about that here on this show. If you were watching back in December, you remember that. And the body cam footage of moments after the police arrived on the scene, that contradicts what William Roddy Bryan was saying sitting next to his wife on the couch when he held the press conference, and the whole story blew up and he's trying to distance himself away from it. Okay, that contradicts all that. So once again, we have this $1 million lawsuit filed by his mother, And news1.com has a story dealing with this. Now, there's also one from the Associated Press as well. The one from the Associated Press is Memorial's lawsuit mark death anniversary of Ahmaud Arbery. Okay. Memorial's lawsuit mark death anniversary of Ahmaud Arbery. So check out that one as well. Okay. Yeah, check out that one from the Associated Press. And we'll post the link here for that one. Okay, I want to go quickly to this next story here, dealing with the U.S. dealing with the Capitol hearings, dealing with the Capitol riots that took place January 6th. The hearings took place today. So, Capitol police leaders say they did not see critical warning before Capitol attack. The current and former officials in charge of security at the Capitol on January 6th blamed intelligence failures and the federal government for the slow response to the deadly attack that day. We're going to go to this clip here. Shakita from MSNBC. Security officials say they did not see January 5th FBI threat report. Let's go to this clip.
Point now, Pete Williams, the fact that that was not communicated among the law enforcement officials, how the sergeants at arms and the head of Capitol Police could not have seen the warning that came on January 5th, a very specific warning from the Virginia Bureau and Norfolk Bureau, I believe, the FBI.
So I think there are two issues here, Andrea. One is all of the intelligence that was sort of formally presented to law enforcement all the way up till the 6th did not predict a siege of the Capitol or anything beyond perhaps extra violence of the kind they'd already seen at the two previous MAGA marches. So they thought it would be sort of MAGA March plus, if you will, was the formal intel. And then you have, the day before the riot, this piece of uncorroborated information from the FBI that was sent in an email to the Capitol Police, the chief said today, and somehow sent, perhaps in an email, to a Capitol Police official. But we learned today from the former chief that that never got beyond that person who received it. It was not circulated to the upper reaches of the Capitol Police officials, the command structure, and the chief himself said he never saw it. Would it have made a difference if they had seen it? That's unclear at this point. It's very difficult to tell because, as they said, it was one piece of uncorroborated evidence. Very sobering because it does, according to people who have seen it, talk specifically about the Capitol. And I think that's one thing that makes that piece of intel different from many of the others that were in the formal channels that went to the people planning for security on the 6th.
Okay, so that's from MSNBC from earlier today. Now, three former Capitol security officials and the acting chief of the Washington, D.C. Police Department testified on Tuesday, February 23rd, before a joint Senate committee hearing. Former Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sund said that an FBI report warning that far-right extremists planned to travel to Washington, D.C. and were ready for war, quote unquote, ready for war, was received by Capitol Police the night before the attack, but leadership never saw it. Leadership never saw it. Now, former Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sund said the Joint Terrorism Task Force received the report and forwarded to an official at the Intelligence Division over at U.S. Capitol Police Headquarters. But Sund, who resigned in the wake of the riot, said it was not passed along to him, and neither the House nor Senate sergeants at arms saw it. Okay. Now there's also an article here from another one from NBC News. This one here is entitled, "You Can't Just Push Send." 20 years after 9/11, FBI accused of intel failure before Capitol riot. Okay. Yeah, we'll come to this one here in just a second. We only have a couple minutes left here on 9:10 a.m. But Sund, who resigned in the wake of the riot, said it was not passed along to him, and neither the House nor Senate Sergeant at Arms saw this report from the FBI. Former Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sund also said intelligence reports compiled by the Capitol Police, FBI, Secret Service, Department of Homeland Security, and the DC Police showed, quote, the level of probability of acts of civil disobedience / arrests on January 6th ranged from remote to improbable. Okay. He said the reports compiled by the Capitol Police, FBI, Secret Service, Department of Homeland Security, and the DC Police showed the level of probability of acts of civil disobedience / arrest on January 6th range from remote to improbable. Sund and acting DC Police Chief Robert Conti also testified about the hours-long delay in deploying the National Guard to the Capitol to quell the riot. A top Pentagon official, Lieutenant General Walter Piatt, P-I-A-T-T, said on a conference call that afternoon, he was concerned about the quote-unquote optics of having armed troops at the Capitol. Sund testified. This is what former Capitol Police Chief Steve Sund said. He said, quote, I was surprised at the reluctance to immediately send the National Guard to the Capitol grounds. Robert Conti, DC Police Chief Robert Conti said, acting DC Police Chief Robert Conti added. Conti went on to say that he was, quote unquote, stunned by the lack of urgency. Okay, so we are up against a hard break here. Those watching on Facebook and YouTube, keep watching. We're going to keep broadcasting for a few more minutes. Some of these other topics we'll deal with tomorrow night. It's been a long day. This is my third broadcast today. I just did a 2-hour class. You can still register for our online course, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. We'll post a link here. It's also at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. As soon as you register, you can start watching the broadcast. You can watch the class I just did with Dr. David M. Hotep, author of the book, The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence. All we do the classes live. They're all recorded. You can go back and watch them over and over again. Watch from around the world. All right. Remember, we focus on educating, empowering, inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. Right now, it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. Stay tuned for Pastor Greg Davis. We'll talk to you tomorrow night. Peace. All right, stand by. Okay. All right, let's continue. How's everybody doing? And yeah, you can go to our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, and register for the online class. We have it there. Also, we have a recommended reading list of books at our website as well. Because somebody in the class tonight, they were asking for a list of books. So when you go to our website, right on the home page, and I'm redesigning the website also, because when I designed this like 10 years ago, 11 years, 7, 8, 9 years ago, certain features weren't available now. Certain features weren't available then. But if you go to book lists, has a recommended reading list of books I put together. It's about 70 books here. Okay, so you can check that out at book list, suggested readings. You don't have to buy these books to follow along in the class, anything like that. When you scroll down, information about the online course, click here, register here. Okay, it takes you right here and click on enroll. Let's say enroll, click there to enroll in the online course. Now, okay. And then also we have the Michael M. Hotep Black History Month 15 DVD bundle pack as well. Okay, right below the information dealing with the panel discussion I'm on Wednesday, February 24th. So this 15 DVD bundle pack right here for Black History Month. 15 of my lectures. We also have it on digital download. It's on sale $100. But I have lectures dealing with 3 lectures dealing with the film Black Panther. We have them dealing with the origins and history of African American History Month, Black History Month. We have them on all different topics. Dr. King, Malcolm X. It's a double lecture I did with Dr. David M. Hotep, dealing with the first Americans where Africans documented evidence. The origins of Christmas, great African women in history, the mothers of civilization. So that's all there. Okay. We had those shipping out this week. So that'll keep you busy for what's a lot of research in those. We'll post a link here for that. All right, let's continue. I want to go to this next story here. And let's see, make sure I got all the information dealing with the Capitol rise. I watched some of the hearing today. What was interesting was some of the people who were inciting the riots. Senator Ron Johnson and Senator Josh Hawley, they were there asking questions like everything was all right. Like they didn't have any involvement in any of this. You know, that's just the height of hypocrisy. They were just acting like they ain't have. I mean, dude, you help incite this stuff. Okay. And Senator Ron Johnson was there pushing lies. We'll probably talk about this some more on tomorrow's show. But Senator Ron Johnson was just spouting lies and conspiracy theories right there in the Senate hearing. Okay. So I want to check here. I want to look at this other article quickly here. Nearly 2 decades after the failure to share intelligence helped prevent the FBI from foiling the 9/11 attacks, the Bureau is now accused of not making sure local police agencies fully appreciated the threats brewing among militia groups and white supremacists in the days before the assault on the United States Capitol. And let me look at this clip here. I want to make sure this is not the same one I just played because, okay, yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is the clip. This is the same clip I just played. Okay. I just want to make sure. This is from the hearing. We'll go to this clip here. This is like former Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sund. We're going to go to this clip here from the hearing in just a second. Okay, we'll let that queue up. Just bear with me for a minute here. After the first hour, I got to run all this stuff myself because we're only on 9:10 a.m. the superstation WFDF in Detroit. We're only on there for the first hour of the show.
Couple of big takeaways I want to unpack here with Pete Williams in the remaining minutes that I have here. And Pete, let me go through them sort of point by point. One was sort of a general observation that Chief Sund made. And I want to read the quote exactly because we have a little bit of a time issue here. And I don't want to play it. But here was the quote itself. And he said, "We properly planned for a mass demonstration with possible violence. What we got was a military-style coordinated assault on our officers and a violent takeover of the Capitol building." Pete, it's that first part of this phrase. We properly planned for a mass demonstration with possible violence. Did they? Were they successful in making that point today?
Yeah, we know now that's not the case. And I think he would admit that today. What he was saying is all the intelligence that we had through the formal channels was that at most what was going to happen on January 6th was sort of the plus up, maybe a little more violent expression than happened in the previous 2 MAGA demonstrations that were in Washington, not the picture that you're seeing here today. So he said, you know, the intel agencies failed us. They never told us to expect this. And the one new thing that we learned today is that, in fact, what the FBI said is accurate, that there was a piece of raw intelligence that came from the FBI office in Norfolk, Virginia, that said that there were groups talking about a violent attack on the Capitol and talking about tunnels in the Capitol and talking about war. And the chief disclosed today that that never got to him. He said it did get to his intelligence people, but it was not circulated to the upper levels of Capitol Police leadership, and that he never saw it until 24 hours ago in preparation for this hearing. So that was one message that came through. And the Metropolitan Police Chief here said it was an email to him on the night before, too. And the former chief's son said, if the federal government was really worried that that kind of thing would happen, why would the Secret Service have allowed Mike Pence to be in the Capitol without more protection?
Okay, so that's from MSNBC. Also, that the link to that article is the link to the that clip. Former Capitol Police Chief, we planned for a mass demonstration with possible violence. That's in this article as well from NBC News. Let's go back to the article here. So this is one of the reasons why you need hearings. And we know General Russell Honoré is also doing an investigation into what took place as well. But this is why you need hearings in the Senate. There'll probably be hearings in the House of Representatives as well. An FBI intelligence report describing plans for violence at the Capitol was sent via email to lower level officials the night before the January 6th riot and was never read by Capitol Police or Washington, D.C. leaders, according to testimony at Tuesday's Senate hearing. Senators called that an intelligence breakdown by the Capitol Police and the FBI. You can't just push send and hope it gets to the right person, says Senator Amy Klobuchar, the Minnesota Democrat who chairs the Committee on Rules and Administration. The intelligence failure that left the Capitol and Washington, D.C. police forces unprepared for the mob that invaded the U.S. Capitol goes well beyond a single unread email from an FBI field office, current and former American officials and experts say. Okay, goes well beyond a single unread email, an FBI field office, current and from an FBI field office, current and former American officials and experts say. At issue, they say, is a hesitancy by the FBI and other agencies born out of legitimate free speech concerns to collect and disseminate intelligence based on the social media postings of domestic political actors. Quote, this should be a wake-up call for everyone that we have a major problem on our hands because the intelligence was there, said Frank Figliuzzi, the former head of the FBI's counterintelligence division and a current NBC News analyst. Quote, the whole system is broken in terms of what they can and can't look at, end quote. Okay, so read the rest of this article here. You can't just push send. 20 years after 9/11, FBI accused of intel failure before Capitol riot. All right. And lastly, we're going to get to this last story here. And some of this other stuff we'll talk about tomorrow. We'll do with birthdays tomorrow because we're out of time here. And it's been a long day. This is my third broadcast today. I talked about, on our Sunday show, it was Sunday, February 21st, the anniversary of the assassination of Malcolm X, 56th anniversary of the assassination of Malcolm X. So I did a post on Facebook dealing with Malcolm X, and it was an excerpt of the Ballad of the Bullet. Okay, and you can read the Ballad of the Bullet at blackpast.org. Blackpast.org. Okay. Now, this version of the Ballad of the Bullet is from April 3rd, 1964. This is when he gave it in Cleveland, Ohio. Okay. And that was at Corey Methodist Church, April 3rd, 1964, Cleveland, Ohio. You can get this book here, Malcolm X Speaks. So if we look, here, they have this full speech here at blackpast.org, the Battle of the Bullet, from April 3rd, 1964. Malcolm first gave it, that I know of, March 29th, 1964, 3 days after he met Dr. King at the civil rights debate in the U.S. Senate, for the debate in the U.S. Senate over the Civil Rights Act of 1964. They were debating the Civil Rights Act. Okay, now there is a passage in the Battle of the Bullet, and a lot of people don't understand the speech. They really need to read the full speech. This is why I tell people you have to read Malcolm. Okay, you can't just sit there and listen to it, because you have to read his speech, highlight it, analyze it. Okay, because I got this book when I was in college. When I get this book, December 8th, 1993. December 8th, 1993. This book is all highlighted, because these are his speeches. You have to go through and study them and compare passages and things like that to get the full meaning of what he's talking about. So one of the themes of the speech, the Battle of the Bullet, is interjecting Black nationalism into the civil rights movement. Okay, that's one of the themes of the Battle of the Bullet, because Malcolm joins the civil rights movement after he leaves the Nation of Islam. This is what a lot of people, don't understand. And when Malcolm meets Dr. King, March 26, 1964, Malcolm tells Dr. King, "I'm throwing all of my effort into the heart of the civil rights movement." There's an article from Washington Post that deals with the day Dr. King met Malcolm X. All right, and it deals with this history, and also deals with Malcolm calling for unification of the civil rights leaders while Malcolm is still in the Nation of Islam. All right, so this article as well. This is from the Washington Post. I've done a whole presentation dealing with this and the whole history around it. It's from January 14th, 2018. Martin Luther King met Malcolm X just once. The photo still haunts us with what was lost. Okay. So this is before Malcolm goes to Mecca. This is later in the same month that he officially separates from the Nation of Islam. And it says here, when the two men met, cameras clicked as the two men walked down the Senate hall together. "I'm throwing myself into the heart of the civil rights struggle," Malcolm X told Dr. King. King would later say, quote, "He is very articulate, but I totally disagree with many of his political and philosophical views, at least insofar as I understand where he now stands." But Dr. King and Malcolm's ideologies were converging toward the end of both of their lives. Just remember, Malcolm was killed 4 years before Dr. King. And this is what James H. Cone deals with in his book, Martin, Malcolm in America, A Dream or a Nightmare. But 8 months before their brief meeting on Capitol Hill, Malcolm sent a letter to Dr. King requesting a meeting with him. Malcolm sends a letter to Dr. King requesting a meeting. The letter was dated July 31st, 1963. The return address was Muhammad's Mosque, number 7, 113 Lenox Avenue, New York, 26, New York. Malcolm X opened the letter with the greeting, "Dear Sir." Okay, you can read all this because we're short on time. But Malcolm is calling for a united front involving all Negro factions and elements and their leaders is absolutely necessary. Malcolm said the seriousness of this situation demands that immediate steps be taken to solve this crucial problem by those who have genuine concern before the racial powder keg explodes. Malcolm was calling for a unification of the civil rights leaders and their followers. He said, despite their tremendous ideological differences, he's talking about when John F. Kennedy met with Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev. Despite their tremendous ideological differences, it is a disgrace for Negro leaders not to be able to submerge our minor differences in order to seek a common solution to a common problem posed by a common enemy. Okay, so Malcolm was calling for a unification of the civil rights leaders and their followers while he was in the Nation of Islam. All right, he sent this letter July 31st, 1963. Malcolm X invited Dr. King to a rally that August in Harlem to analyze the race problem and solution. He invited the other civil rights leaders as well. He requested that if King could not attend, to send a representative, closing the letter with an endearment, "Your brother Malcolm." King declined the invitation and did not send a representative, according to the book Malcolm and the Cross, The Nation of Islam, Malcolm X and Christianity, by Louis A. DeCaro Jr. We know on August 28th, 1963, at a march on Washington. Malcolm X did attend the March on Washington. Now, we do know that now, I'm not exactly sure if Dr. King got the, I don't know for certain he got it. He did not send a representative. He did not send a surrogate. Okay. Let me see something here. He did not send a surrogate. We know that. Now, I want to back up for a second. Look at this here. King declined the invitation. Yeah, he declined the invitation and did not send a representative. Okay. He declined the invitation. Now, we do know that February 24th, 1966, Dr. King meets with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Dr. King and Coretta Scott King go to Elijah Muhammad's house, and Dr. King meets with him. And if you go to the Nation of Islam's website, they have pictures on their website of Dr. King meeting with Elijah Muhammad, and they have a write-up about it. They talk about this. And personally, I think it may have been a situation where Dr. King wasn't ready to meet with him at that point. I think maybe he wasn't ready to meet with him. Who knows? Because this is a month before the March on Washington. But you have to read this book, Martin Malcolm and America, Dream or Nightmare, because their ideologies were convergent toward the end of both of their lives. And they're sounding like each other. Okay. All right. Now, very quickly, Malcolm talks about in the Battle of the Bullet. He talks about this one section dealing with wearing turbans. And let's see, where do I have it here? He has this one section where he talks about wearing turbans and calling yourself African. And he says you would get farther if you called yourself an African as opposed to a Negro. All right. And let me pull this up here. Because he says Africans don't catch hell. And he also mentions that Africans don't need a Civil Rights Act. Okay. Let me see here. Now, let's look at this here. He also uses the term African American in this speech as well. So, contrary to popular belief, Reverend Jesse Jackson did not create the term African American. He helped popularize it. So Malcolm said, right now in this country, if you and I, 22 million African Americans, that's what we are, Africans who are in America. You're nothing but Africans, nothing but Africans. In fact, you get farther calling yourself African instead of Negro. Africans don't catch hell. You're the only one catching hell. They don't have to pass civil rights bills for Africans. They don't have to pass civil rights bills for Africans. An African can go anywhere he wants right now. All you've got to do is tie your head up. That's right. Go anywhere you want. Just stop being a Negro. Change your name to, an African name. That'll show you how silly these people are you're dealing with. So how silly many white people are. He said a friend of mine who's very dark put a turban on his head. And let me take this off a screen share here. Put a turban on his head and went into a restaurant in Atlanta before they called themselves desegregated. He said he went into a white restaurant. He sat down. They served him, and he said, quote, "What would happen if a Negro came in here and there he is sitting black as night? But because he had his head wrapped up, the waitress looked back at him and says, why? She said, why? There wouldn't be no N-word dare come in here." End quote. But so this ties into a piece of history. And this ties into a time when some African Americans wore turbans to navigate throughout segregation. There's an article from 2018 from timeline.com. Now, I've posted it a number of times on my Facebook fan page, The African History Network, but on February 21st, when I did a post about Malcolm, I tied that into this article in this piece of history as well from timeline.com. Name of this article is How Turbans Helped Some Black Men Avoid Jim Crow Era Racism. How turbans helped some black men avoid Jim Crow era racism. He didn't change his color, he just changed his costume, and they treated him like a human. This is from January 23rd, 2018. And it deals with this history of African Americans wearing turbans, 50s, 60s, 40s, 50s, 60s, wearing turbans, adopting a dialect, accent, and passing themselves off as something other than a Negro. He was thought to be the son of a French opera singer and an Indian man from New Delhi, but he was actually a black man from Missouri, the son of a preacher. By donning a turban, Corla Pandit circumvented racist Jim Crow laws and was the first African American man to have his own TV show. This is before, this had to be before Nat King Cole. First African American man to have his own TV show. But Pandit was not the first or last black man to pick up on this confusion. Reverend Jesse Root, R-U-O-T-T-E, and I'm not sure how to pronounce it, Root, used it to make a political statement when he purposefully wore a turban and velvet robes on a trip to Alabama in 1947. His son Luther later wrote, he didn't change his color, he just changed his costume, and they treated him like a human. this ties into the legacy of slavery. Because even Africans, and I'm not beating up on our brothers and sisters from the continent, but even Africans coming from African continent, even though they were colonized, they still, in general, there are Amadou Diallo, there are examples, you know, but in generally speaking, if they have an African name and have an accent, generally speaking, they tend to be treated better than African Americans in general. There are some exceptions to the rule, but it doesn't mean the rule doesn't exist. A lot of that ties into the legacy of slavery, because even though they're coming from African countries that were colonized, they still have a country. They still have their own country. They still have their own government. They have their language, things like that, right? They still have citizenship in a country, which is, our situation is different because this was the land that we were enslaved in. And you are dealing with the descendants of those who enslaved us. So there is inherently a inferior and superior positioning or mindset because we're in the land where we were enslaved. I mean, there's still, just think about it, there's still trees that are still alive today, still standing, that our ancestors were hung from or tied to and beaten. There's still plantations and plantation houses, you know, that still stand today, that our ancestors were on and enslaved on. So read the rest of this article here from it's another passage. Read the rest of this article here from timeline.com, but this ties into part of history that a lot of people don't know about. Now, lastly, and we have to get out of here. If you read Hannibal B. Johnson's book on Black Wall Street, okay, Hannibal B. Johnson's book on Black Wall Street, he talks about a time when there was a situation where, and I'm not sure if I have this bookmark, but there was, I think he was an attorney. A gentleman was an attorney. And this is during segregation. And he's going to some type of meeting or banquet or something like that. And he has on a suit. He's an attorney. He has on a suit. He tries to go in. And he's denied entry because he's African American. So there was a woman who had she was wearing a brooch, and he takes the brooch and a cloth napkin, like a white cloth napkin, and he wraps it around his head like a turban and puts the brooch on. He comes back and walks back up to the entrance of the banquet or whatever it is, and the person that stopped him from coming in, because he was a Negro, just let him walk in. Because they thought he was a dignitary from a foreign country. Still same complexion, but they thought he was a dignitary from a foreign country. He wasn't a Negro. He could still just be dark. Because think about it. You got Indians from India, some Indians from India are darker than many African Americans, but they don't get treated like us. Even though many of them have African ancestry, because when you study the history of India, India was a colony of Ethiopia 9,000 years ago. This is why there's some similarity between Indian food and Ethiopian food and Indian culture and Ethiopian culture. India was a colony of Ethiopia. So I thought I had that bookmarked because it was really important. So all this ties into history, really understanding white supremacy and racism, what it is and how it works, and how racism is a system of advantage and privilege distributed based upon race, coming out of the ideology of European white supremacy, And this is all designed to preserve genetic white survival. And those as a group of people who have the highest concentration of melanin, they are looked as being those who have the greatest ability to change the complexion of Europeans and possibly, wipe them off the face of the earth. And this is why, by intermixing with them, and this is, and so you have to keep in mind, this ties to the history of the Moors, because Europeans saw this for hundreds of years in Europe. When the Moors intermixed into the European population. So, so we have to understand this history here. Okay, I think maybe it was in the beginning of the book. Let me see. I thought I had that bookmark. I thought I had it highlighted or something. I have to find this. Maybe we'll talk about this on tomorrow's show. Let me see. Capital World. But I thought I had that bookmark. But I'll find it. But it's in this book. Black Wall Street from Riot to Renaissance in Tulsa's historic Greenwood District. Okay. If you like this type of information, you want to support the African History Network, we definitely need your support. You could donate through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, or through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. Okay, so we're here 6 nights a week. There's a lot of work. That helps us to keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting. Helps. This is a big time commitment as well, so that helps me to be able to keep doing this. Now, if you donate through PayPal, we'll talk also briefly because you can advertise with us as well. The African History Network. We broadcast these shows throughout the day. There's a great opportunity for African American business owners. Also visit workingwithjohnray.com, workingwithjohnray.com. I'm working on commercials. You see some new commercials in the broadcast. So I'm working on producing commercials now. If you already have a commercial, that helps out a lot. Here to tell you. There for Cash App, it is $ the AHN Show through Cash App. $ the AHN Show through Cash App. Okay. Be sure to type in $ the AHN Show through Cash App. Now, somebody set up a fake African History Network Cash App account. They use my logo, and they have a Cash App handle that's similar to mine. It's not me. So if you donate it to the fake African History Network Cash App account, because theirs is $ the AHN, mine is $ the AHN Show. That's my actual handle, and it has my picture up, and it says Michael. If you donate it to this fake Cash App account, I don't know who the hell did this. Contact Cash App and tell them you want your money back and send it to us if you were trying to donate to the African History Network. Okay, I just found out about this last week, so I had to take some action on this. And then also you can donate through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. We also have the information at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can still register for our online course, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. And if you want to advertise with the African History Network, email us at customerservice@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, customerservice@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. So you will get 200 commercials airing on our social media platforms, 200 commercials in 30 days. Our current promotion is buy 1 month, get 1 month free. Okay, buy 1 month, get 1 month free. We have to run it for a few more days. We have a few more spots available. Email us at customerservice@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, and we broadcast these shows throughout the day. We reach people all across the country, around the world. And our shows are in audio podcast format as well, on 9 different audio podcast platforms, including iHeartRadio and iTunes and Castbox, things like that. So people, when they listen to the audio podcast of our shows, they hear they'll hear your commercial as well. Okay, so email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com, customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. All right, look, we have to get out of here. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. Because right knowledge corrects wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. And we'll talk to you tomorrow night. Peace.